Hi, Andrew Bell, coming to you from the Ray White International Conference. Wonderful, with some near 3,000 delegates from all of our offices around the various parts of the world coming together for this once in 3-year event. Been thrilled today to just hear from Sharb Farjami, who is the CEO of Storyful. Storyful is an organisation that is monitoring social media, particularly for major news outlets such as Wall Street Journal and ABC and so on in the US. It's based in New York. And they particularly monitor the incorrect, as President Trump calls it, the false stories, the fake news. And so he's a real expert in social media, and he's agreed to join us today for a few minutes just to talk about social media and its impact in real estate. So thanks, Sharb, really appreciate you joining us today, and fascinating listening to you in our major conference room there about some of the influence of social media and the dangers, of course, with fake news. And we've heard President Trump talk about that frequently. Is that becoming a really big issue?
I think the way information is spread and used across social media platforms is an issue. If it's unregulated, if it's unmonitored, it can be used for good, it can be used for bad. So I think everyone just needs to understand it, and if you're going to publish anything, if you're a news service, you've got to be very, very clear that it's been checked, it's been authenticated, and therefore, like any good premium news publication, you've got a decent fact-checking service.
We're always sort of hungry for ways to get to potential buyers for our properties that we're marketing. And over the years, of course, we have the traditional means of print media, and then that built into digital, and now social media is playing a role. Do you see that becoming a stronger facet of being able to market real estate?
Probably one of the most important things in real estate is reputation and trust. Certainly whenever I've bought or sold a house or an apartment, it's come down to the relationship that I have and trust with that buyer and with that seller and that organisation. Hence things like print media, because people tend to trust what's in them because they feel they have a relationship with the brand. You've got that trust and therefore that relationship. And I think for social media, if it's done well, the same thing can happen. Obviously, it's an immediate platform, and if you're able to communicate your message via something like REA or Ray White's site, again, where there's reputational trust and the consumer's going to trust the message, then it can be used for a force for good.
The fact that, the years gone by when we did print media, they were from people who were sort of, to a degree, passive buyers. They just happened to be going through the newspaper, they'd stumble across the real estate section, look through, and we would find buyers. And we still today, we still find that a really strong way of finding buyers. Then when digital came in, they were the really active buyers. They were the people like every night I'd go home and I'll be looking over that site. Really tough buyers to work with because they know so much. But social media is this opportunity of being able to have almost a virus effect, to have it crossing all platforms and going into hundreds of thousands of people as opposed to maybe the more limited print and digital media. Any thoughts on that?
I think that your first point is right, which is that every platform serves a different purpose. But if you've got to digital, then maybe you've already made the decision, whereas if you're in print, maybe you're browsing and it sparks the idea. So I think they're all different. I think ultimately it all comes down to the power of your brand. Ray White, you've got a strong brand, it's going to have to exist in a different manner on all of those platforms. In terms of social media, there's a place for it to exist, but like news and like information, you need to be able to control the message, because the thing about social media is that people can take your messaging and they can do whatever they want with it, and they can republish and they can take it off, and it's fairly unaccountable in that manner.
Are you seeing a breakdown in connection, or there's some people would argue an increase in connection? Because what used to happen when someone would see something in the newspaper, they would pick up the phone and give us a ring and want to talk to us about it more. Now people with social media, for example, want videos, and they'll do all their research, they'll go into other platforms to do all of their homework, and by choice probably wouldn't they pick up the telephone.
I think the argument is social media connecting us more or less. If there's a platform where the connection can be stronger and your brand is already strong, then it's probably going to amplify and elevate your connection. But I don't think any of them could exist on their own. So for example, social media is very connected, but if I saw Steve from Brisbane who was selling his house, I probably wouldn't buy it off Steve, who was just some guy from Brisbane. So I want something else, some trust around it, some metrics and some kind of context that makes me trust it. And that might be the environment I see it in, or the person that's publishing them.
Now I know you're about to rush off back to New York. I just thought maybe wrap it up with, are you seeing a change in consumers? Are you seeing that they becoming more cynical, more hesitant, more reluctant in a particular trend?
In terms of social media, I think human beings tend to self-correct in the end, and most people are smarter than we give them thought for. But I think by and large people realise that you can't always trust what you see. You have to be aware of whether or not something is true or not. I think it ends up happening is that some people just end up not trusting anything and, kind of just removing themselves from the situation a bit. And I think that is dangerous. If people remove themselves from society to that degree, remove themselves from having an opinion because they're tired of not trusting the connection, then that's an issue. So everyone's got a responsibility in it, platforms, brands, consumers.
Right, one more last question if I could. There's always a degree of speculation about media. I think everyone knows that the digital's firmly in place. We see a future with the social media. Do you still see a place for print media in this world?
Undoubtedly. Look at the News Corp, certainly titles in Australia, Wall Street Journal, Times of London. I mean, there are some big print mastheads globally that are doing incredibly well. I think there is, in every industry, in every part of media, issues for some brands and for some companies, but I think that comes down to quality. If you're good, people like it, they'll buy it. Certainly, we're finding more and more people pay for a premium product. So, yeah, I think so.
Great, Sharb. Listen, thank you very much. Safe travels back to New York.
Thanks very much, Andrew.
Thank you. Well, wonderful to have Sharb with us and thrilled to be able to bring it to you, a world expert in this whole space of social media. And I do know how much we are using it in our own marketing now. We know in the market of real estate, key platforms still remain the Gold Coast Bulletin and of course the Australian newspaper and the Australian Financial Review in print media. We have it with Domain and realestate.com in digital, but ever increasingly it's social media as well. We really want to make sure our clients are well looked after, and so we have all of those platforms well and truly covered. Well, that's it for this fortnight. Look forward to be back with you in 2 weeks' time for more news on the real estate market here on the Gold Coast.